This event would not be taking place if it were not for him. The organization would not exist if it were not for him. So we're fortunate that we're going to have some time to hear from Dominic this morning. Dominic is a longtime friend and colleague of mine, so it's truly a pleasure for me to introduce him. As I mentioned, he's the founder and president of the Neuropathy Action Foundation. That he does almost completely volunteer. He has a more than full-time job as a director of advocacy and professional relations for Pfizer, responsible for the entire Western United States. Dominic was diagnosed with multifocal motor neuropathy at the age of 30, which is kind of odd because I didn't think he was that old yet. He founded the NAF in 2006 to educate the public about neuropathy and, most importantly, to help patients such as yourself to obtain appropriate individualized care and to become empowered advocates. The best way to summarize Dominic's journey as an MMN patient, his 12 years of receiving IVIG infusions, and the reason that he created the NAF is to hear it directly from him. So we're going to play a video that I already just accidentally started, but we're going to continue that now so you can hear a little bit about Dominic's story directly from him, and then Dominic will come up and say a few words.
I was 29, 30 years old, and I started developing a tremor in my right hand that wouldn't go away. I woke up one morning and I was unable to close my fingers together. Went to a neurologist and went through a series of tests. I was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, or ALS, and I was told that I had about 3 to 5 years to live. Asked for a new neurologist. He ultimately diagnosed me with multifocal motor neuropathy. There's over 100 different types of neuropathies. Mine is idiopathic. What idiopathic means is that there's no known cause. I started on IVIG monthly infusions immediately. I noticed within 24 hours that it was working. My symptoms subsided, and it was amazing. Every month for the past 12 years and for the rest of my life, I receive IVIG infusions. IVIG is a liquid gold. It's a miracle medicine. And the reason I say that is because there is no cure for somebody like me. I will have multifocal motor neuropathy for the rest of my life. But the bad and the scary part for people like me is it's made from human plasma. And there's only so much human plasma to go around. At one point, I went 3 or 4 months without my IVIG. My health plan would no longer pay for it because of the cost. And they tried to pull the saying that it wasn't medically necessary. I had a few people write letters and call in favors, and I ultimately won the battle with my health plan to continue ongoing usage of IVIG. I actually started a foundation called the Neuropathy Action Foundation to help people with access to IVIG and other medications, ensuring that they would have continuity of care and ongoing treatment without interruptions. There have been shortages in the past, and there inevitably will be shortages in the future. As IVIG gets FDA approved for more and more conditions, we need to make sure that we have enough for everybody so that everybody that needs IVIG can have access to IVIG. It's a very unique medicine in that it comes from human plasma. If it wasn't for that individual donating plasma, they wouldn't be able to turn that plasma into a medication. The one thing that I would like to leave people with that do donate plasma is don't stop there. Please talk to your family and your friends and coworkers and others and get them to donate plasma as well. I can't even begin to articulate how thankful I am and how thankful I know other MMN patients are for folks that donate plasma. It's a limb-saving medication for us that allows us to lead very healthy and productive lives.
Dominic Spatafora.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Really appreciate your friendship and commitment to the Neuropathy Action Foundation and to myself, quite frankly, over the years. I remember 9 years ago when we had our first annual Neuropathy Action Foundation in San Francisco, and every year since I start with the same quote. And it's a Margaret Mead quote, which is, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." And that's really what we're all about, is making the difference in the lives of others and helping empower other patients to make better lives, not only for themselves, but also for others. And that's really what does make a difference, is empowering patients so they can help others. So I want to thank all of you for being here today and doing your part to learn more about neuropathy and also supporting us. Special thanks to our exhibitors and our sponsors. Without all of you, this would not have been possible. Special thanks to those exhibitors and sponsors that have been with us all 9 years, and that includes many of you, and we greatly appreciate that. Also, thank you to the NAF staff and the volunteers, and last to our board of directors. Many of you are here today with us. Your leadership, trust, friendship, and devotion to helping others definitely needs to be recognized. I admire each of you and respect each of you, and just wholeheartedly thank you for all the time that you give to make this organization what it is. One other group to thank you for all of you watching live today. We do have over 500 viewers from around the world watching live right now. We will be posting this. Yeah, that's great, actually. Really good turnout this year. This will be posted, this entire day will be posted online in a couple weeks, so patients can watch this in the future at their own time. As you saw in the video, the reason I started this foundation almost 10 years ago was because I had some pretty major access issues. I had been on IVIG for 1 year for my multifocal motor neuropathy, and suddenly I got a letter from my health plan telling me that my IVIG was no longer medically necessary. Doing what I did for a living at the time, I was very fortunate in that I was able to involve our governor, elected officials, and have them write letters for me, which ultimately helped me get the medication I needed back then. But what really bothered me was that not everybody had that opportunity, and that was the very reason why we created the Neuropathy Action Foundation, was, number one, to educate people on the over 100 different types of neuropathy that exist. Neuropathy truly is probably the most common disease that most people have never heard of. Over 20 million Americans suffer from some form of a neuropathy. The other goal that we had back then was to empower patients to help them advocate for themselves and gain individualized access to the treatments and the medications that not only save their lives, but save their limbs. I remember when I was initially being diagnosed, I went to my primary care doctor because I had a tremor in my right hand. It took me, being a typical guy, it took me about a year to go see my doctor because I was afraid. He didn't know what to do, so he referred me to a neurologist. The very first diagnosis was Lou Gehrig's, as you just saw, and I was diagnosed with 3 to 5 years to live. Didn't believe that, didn't take that, just immediately got a second opinion. And the next doctor wanted to do a nerve transposition surgery. Didn't believe that either. I didn't want that. I didn't think that was the case. So finally, after a year of being tested and probed and spinal lumbar punctures and EMGs and everything you heard about this morning, I was correctly diagnosed, got on IVIG, and it's literally been a liquid medicine, a liquid gold for the past 12 years that has contained my condition to my right hand. It's never spread. The one thing that people don't typically talk about, though, are the emotions that patients go through when they have a chronic illness. And this applies to neuropathy, but it also applies to pain. It applies to any chronic condition that we're forced to live with. There's a lot of emotions. First being fear of the unknown. What is this? Neuropathy, I can't even pronounce it, but what is it? Those are some of the thoughts that go through your head. Disease progression. How fast is this going to spread? What is it going to do to my body? How is it going to impact my life? You start thinking about other fearful things like wheelchairs, paralysis, burden on family members and friends. How is this going to impact my family and friends if it doesn't stop progressing? Embarrassment, lots of embarrassment, especially in my case when I was a 29, 30-year-old guy at the time, kind of at the height of my career, getting started, and not being able to get a firm handshake is devastating, right? especially in my line of work, I shake a lot of hands. It was really tough, and it still is, to get a good handshake. Dropping silverware constantly when your fingers lock. It makes a loud cling. So embarrassing. Tripping and falling. Luckily with my neuropathy, that's not an issue, but I know many, many people in this room are constantly fearing that they're going to trip or fall, and they need walking devices to help them. Tremors, twitching, etc. Lots of embarrassing things go on when you're dealing with a chronic condition like neuropathy. There's also a lot of frustration and anger. I remember thinking, why me? Why is this happening to me? I remember, and still go through, simple daily activities are impacted. Things as simplistic and silly that most of us take for granted, but trying to put in a contact lens, button these little buttons on your dress shirt, forget about it. I never button this one right here. It just goes unbuttoned. Computers and typing. And the biggest one for me, and I know many of us, I know I met a gentleman this morning one of Dr. Baydoun's patients, he probably experiences this as well, but you don't look or act sick, yet you have this chronic condition, and once a month you're going for an infusion, and there are some things you deal with, emotions being one of them, but it's hard. And a good example of that is I basically live on airplanes. And I'll never forget when I was sitting in an aisle seat one day, and my neuropathy is contained to my right hand, and I have very little strength in my right hand. And there was a nun trying to get on the plane and put her baggage above me, and I didn't want to help her. Well, I wanted to help her, but I couldn't because I knew something would happen. So it was the embarrassment and the frustration of anger of knowing that I couldn't help her when there's a nun standing there trying to get her luggage up above me. There's also some emotions involved with IVIG. IVIG, as great as it is, it's constant, it's continuous. Every single month, a patient has to schedule around their infusion, whether it's in their home or at an infusion center or in a hospital. It's challenging to get this in the same week every month so it doesn't interfere with your insurance of what they allow. Constant blood tests, constant exams with your neurologist, losing your veins over time. Luckily now there are alternatives to the old-fashioned needle stick. Many people are taking advantage of, which is fantastic. But you lose your veins over time. Managing side effects. And then I think the most important is the constant health insurance barriers that IVIG patients have to go through, whether it's a prior authorization, a step therapy, therapeutic switching, where your health plan switches the brand of your IVIG without your neurologist and yourself knowing, co-insurance, cost, a whole slew of health insurance barriers that really impact a patient emotionally. And that's why I'm really excited to move on to recognizing a few people in the audience today who are past winners of our You Are Our Hero Award, because these people selfishly not only do things to better themselves, you can never tell that they're sick. You can never tell what they're going through. They won't admit it. They won't go there. They're so committed to helping others. And I just want to recognize 4 people before we get to our 2015 You Are Our Hero Award recipient. The first one, and actually Kathleen, as I'm talking, could you come up here and just get the screen? Oh, we switched computers and I can't play the video that I wanted to play, so forget it. I just thought of that. Had some IT issues this morning, I apologize. I was going to play a PSA, but one of our past winners who is here today is absolutely amazing. He's probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my whole life. He's an American television, film, and stage actor, and quite frankly, an American icon, best known for his role as Beaver on the 1950s series Leave It to Beaver. He was Beaver on Leave It to Beaver. In the mid-90s, Jerry Mathers was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. He took preventative action, lost 55 pounds, and is currently one of the leading lecturers on both diabetes and neuropathy. He's helped me and the foundation in so many ways over the years. I can't even begin to articulate how many ways. And he made a public service announcement that we're relaunching within the next few months with a national media company, and it should get a tremendous amount of hits. I was going to play it. I apologize, the IT issues. But Jerry, if you can just stand up for a second and just give Jerry Mathers a round of applause. Barbie Engel, she's the founder and the president of the Power of Pain Foundation. For those that know Barbie, she's a lot of things. She's a comic. She's a best-selling author. She's a motivational speaker. She's a chronic pain educator. But her greatest skill, in my opinion, is that she's probably one of, if not the best, patient advocates I've ever had the pleasure of meeting in my whole life. Barbie Engel, one of our past winners. Velda DeCozentine. She's here in Los Angeles, and she's the former leader of the Los Angeles Neuropathy Support Group. Velda's passion, never-ending energy, unique way of impacting patients over the years, and her never-give-up attitude just inspire me so greatly. And Velda, I don't even see where she is. There she is. Thank you for giving me the courage and taking this event from San Francisco and Sacramento and taking a chance in Los Angeles back in 2013. Without you, I never, ever would have brought it to Los Angeles. So thank you, Velda. One other past winner and very special person, she's been in all 9 of our events so far, Bev Anderson from Sacramento. Yeah, Bev, give her a round of applause. Bev has been the driving force behind the Northern California chapter of the Neuropathy Association, which over the years became the Pacific chapter of the Neuropathy Association and is currently called the Western Neuropathy Association. From the beginning, Bev and this organization emphasized the development of neuropathy support groups. Guidance and information and encouragement are provided within her network of support groups. Her philosophy is that no patient should ever feel alone. And over the years, she grew this from 1 support group to 56 or so, Bev? Give or take a few, she says. So 56, give or take a few support groups throughout Northern California and some bordering states. If you want to learn more about starting up your own support group, whether you're here today, if you are here today, go and visit her table in the back of the room. If you're watching live or at a later date, please contact the Western Neuropathy Association, and Bev will walk you through how to start your own support group. Getting to today's winner of our You Are Our Hero Award, really, I become kind of speechless when I get to this gentleman, just knowing his story. I've known Stan for about 9 years now as well. He was at our very first event back in Sacramento in 2006 or 7. Stan is a California native, a journeyman level welder, fitter, and machine operator with a strong interest in home maintenance and woodworking. He married his wife, Deanna, who's here today, and they have 2 children, Jennifer and Kevin. Proud grandpa of 3 grandchildren, and everything was great for Stan and his family. It sounds as though, and it sounds as though he had everything he wanted. But then due to major medical issues, things really changed for Stan back in the late 1980s and early 1990s. In 1987, Stan started to become ill with repeated pneumonia and blood infections. He was finally diagnosed with common variable immune deficiency. This is a rare disease and requires lifelong IVIG infusions to maintain Stan's health. By 2001, his health worsened with chronic GI problems, resulting in nutritional deficiency. He was also diagnosed with neuropathy around this time. It was necessary for him to start lifetime TPN and D5W hydration IV infusions to supplement regular meals. With immune deficiency, he has over time developed several autoimmune diseases, including alopecia, arthritis, and osteoporosis. Additionally, neuropathy has created muscle atrophy and weakness and pain in his hands and feet. Circling back to the very first thing I said when I got up here, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And that's really what I admire the most about Stan, is his ability to try to change the world as one person. Rather than feeling sorry for himself or giving up, Stan became active in volunteer work after becoming disabled, as he wanted to do something with his spare time. Even though he couldn't any longer be employed due to his health challenges, for 8 years he delivered 1 day a week for Meals on Wheels, but had to quit ultimately due to his neuropathy. In 2006, he founded the South Bay San Jose Neuropathy Support Group and soon became its leader. He opened the Redwood City Neuropathy Support Group in 2010 and is currently leading it. Stan also became the PCNA WNA San Francisco Peninsula and South Bay Regional Coordinator in 2010. I'm often asked what makes an advocate a patient advocate. And becoming a patient advocate means having the courage to take action and do something to help yourself and others suffering with neuropathy. Taking action, whether we do it alone, with others in our community, or with our support group, is incredibly empowering. Those of us who have the power to fight must do so for ourselves and for those who are no longer able to fight for themselves. Stan, thank you so much for fighting for yourself and fighting for others. And for these reasons, you are our 2015 You Are Our Hero Award recipient.
Good afternoon. Sounds like Dominic's pretty much covered it. I got to say I appreciate being here, and it's a real honor to receive this award. I didn't really expect this. He contacted me by email, I think about 2.5 months ago, mentioning that I was named for this award, and I was really shocked. There's so many people in our associations, and there's a number of them here, that could equally deserve the award. As he mentioned, I've had many challenges, and really the basis of all my medical issues is because of primary immunodeficiency, which is probably something I had as a mutation genetically, but it's not proven to be so. And there has always been controversy over common viral immune deficiency as is it idiopathic or not. And actually, at my last Immune Deficiency Foundation meeting, we talked about this, and they say now that about 75–80% are idiopathic. So there is no exact cause known. The Immune Deficiency Foundation is an organization I've been with about 25 years, and they cover really all the rare diseases of the primary immune deficiency family, which is about, I believe, over 125 different types. And the type I have is the more common one, the name given, common variable immune deficiency. But even then, it's not very common in the general public. And when I go to a meeting in the San Francisco Bay Area where I live, usually there's no more than 10 people that show up that actually have common viral immune deficiency. There'll be oftentimes more spouses and friends and just other associates that will show up. But by the small number that show up with the actual disorder, it's very small. So fortunately, that's great. I mean, there's not that many people that have this problem. So anyway, again, Dominic, you're a true friend, and I appreciate the great introduction that you gave me. So I'm not going to go ahead and repeat anything. You pretty much covered it. Okay, thank you so much.